Hello, our dear farming community. My name is Tionge Kacheche, and as part of the Agricoop Awards farm visits, actually the Agricoop Awards 2024 farm visits, we are here in Central Province, Kabwe Central Province, and we're here to visit Mr. Andrew Nguvu of Nguvu Sweet Potato Farms. So please, I urge you to stay tuned and be inspired.
Hello, my name is Andrew Nguvu. I am an entrepreneur and agripreneur who is based in Kabwe. I'm coming from a company that is called Nguvu Zaibatsu Investments Limited. So principally, we have a role to play in agricultural value chains, especially the sweet potato value chain, where we are operating as a plant breeder and propagator of seed. This is primarily because we've noticed that overall there is a serious lack of access to seed on the Zambian landscape when it comes to sweet potato cultivation, and as such that is stagnating the sector. So we are taking it upon ourselves to actually propagate seed for farmers and then supply them in the rainy season. Now we've also gone a step further by incorporating online technical training for sweet potato cultivation that we are providing farmers with. And to further cement this, we've gone a step further to actually seek out reliable and profitable market linkages for sweet potato cultivators. In order to further consolidate this, we have put in place a program which is an outgrower scheme, whereby we are basically supplying farmers with targeted farmers with quality disease and pest-free sweet potato vines that we professionally cultivate in our nursery, coupled with extensive and intensive online training. So this means we are able to reach a diverse group of people in different parts of the country, thanks to technology and the internet. In addition, when the farmers acquire these inputs and implement them with good management and agricultural practices, thanks to our training, we obviously link them to profitable markets when they harvest their sweet potatoes. This market obviously includes distributaries and intermediaries such as supermarkets, retail outlets, especially those that are centered on agriculture and fresh produce. We also have some export agents that we also work with. And in addition, thanks to people being alert to sweet potato cultivation, we have some processors who are coming on board in Zambia. Like we have some company in Solwezi that is producing sweet potato flakes as an alternative to cornflakes. So we are also working with other processors who are tuning in to make products like starch and flour. Hopefully, we can look at noodle manufacturers to be sourcing their starch locally when we have as many sweet potato farmers cultivating and supplying sweet potato. So we were inspired, I say we because we're a team, I'm not alone. We were inspired to venture into this sector after critically analyzing the profit that was in sweet potato production. Now, you know, as an agri-enterprise, we definitely look at farming as a business. So we looked at the value of sweet potato. You know, sweet potato is a crop that is easily grown compared to other cereals and legumes because the input aspect of it is much lesser than other crops. Typically, I'll give you an example. A hectare of maize will need maybe 10 to 12 bags, while sweet potato will need 3 to 4 bags. So if you look at the saving, there's a lot of saving on the farmer side. And when we ventured into this project, we realized the key constraints were lack of seed. There's not many businesses or nurseries or even just government research stations that are investing in growing and propagating sweet potato. So we took it upon ourselves to start selecting drought-tolerant varieties, weevil-resistant varieties, and then we propagated them and we reached a point where we were able to sustain ourselves and also to sell to other farmers. So this opened up two income streams, one from growing sweet potato and then the other from selling seed. This also led us now to also look at the value of technical consultancy, and also that opened a third income stream where we were able to earn money by also charging farmers for technical knowledge. So typically the social impact aspect of sweet potato is also one of the factors that inspired us. You know, if you look at sweet potato, 80% of the cultivators are actually women. In most of these rural areas, you find that women solely rely on sweet potato cultivation while the men focus on, cash intensive crops like maize and soybeans and so forth. So looking at the fact that we're empowering women, we are looking at community development starting from these women, because when a woman has got money from her sweet potato sales, definitely that money will be channeled to feeding her children, educating and clothing them and so forth. So social impact is also one of the big motivational factors that inspires us to continue what we're doing. Looking at where we started from, we started off as an experiment, a pilot project, where we were able to supply about 10 farmers within our district. That was about 3 to 4 years ago. And where we are, last season alone, we were able to supply about 600 farmers, different districts. This year, our target is to supply to 2,500 farmers. So definitely we are scaling, and we hope to replicate our model in other parts of the country. Typically, when I say targeted farmers, we have a criteria that we follow. Number one, it's very important that these farmers should be a member of some kind of agricultural cooperative or club or group. This is because it is easier to disseminate information and resources and inputs to people who are coordinated. So here in Mpema Dairy Scheme, we normally work with about 20 different clubs and groups. This is also in collaboration with Ministry of Agriculture Extension Officers, because when we need to call for a meeting, we definitely go through them. When they call for a meeting and they feel that there's some definite value we can add to that community meeting, definitely we work hand in hand. So that's one of the criteria. The other criteria is that we are not selective of gender, but we definitely encourage a lot of women. So, some of these clubs are actually just all women clubs. So those are one of the priorities that we place. And of course, another aspect that we consider is also the disabled and the aged. These are people that we normally also prioritize, because these are people that obviously need additional streams of income in order to help cushion their discomfort in society. Of course, the most important aspect is capacity. These farmers must have the capacity, meaning you must have the land, at least a lima, the minimum portion of land for one to qualify. They must have a lima, which is a 50 by 50 portion. And of course, going by standard, when it comes to sweet potato cultivation, a lima will take in about 8 50 kg bags. So definitely that is the criteria. They can have more than a lima, but the minimum is a lima. And also, they must, we were in rural areas where in many cases we have animal conflict. We have seen in our previous years, we supply people with vines, and then towards the harvest, we receive reports of animals, cows, goats, trespassing and grazing. So that outgrower must also have the capacity to actually shield off these, principles and practices which can definitely hinder our progress. Yes, so definitely there are more that I can talk about, but those are the most important. When it comes to the farmers, the support that we primarily give them is, I can say, in 3 ways. So number one, we are making it easy for them to access sweet potato planting material at the onset of the rain. Climate change is something that is affecting and changing our rainfall patterns. We used to have rain starting in October, but now we are November, December, and usually by March the rains are gone. So people have that dilemma of compressing all these crops that they want to grow in that period. So you find that if farmers have got no access to seed, by the time sweet potato seed is becoming available, the rains are towards the end. That means they will not yield, they will not harvest anything. So we're making it easy for farmers to access inputs timely, in a timely manner. You can imagine the moment the first rains start, they are making ridges, second rains, they are planting. That's a head start. Of course, one of the other support services is also access to various varieties. I need to mention this, by the way. Sweet potato has got over 80 varieties which are known in the commercial agricultural world. Here in Zambia, we only have 1 or 2. And yet we have so many which are high value. We have the orange fleshed, which is biofortified with beta-carotene, which the human body converts into vitamin A. We have the purple fleshed sweet potato, which is known for its anti-aging properties. This is what you find people in the Western world normally consuming in their diet to kind of look younger for a very longer period. These are all high-value crops, but people have no access to these. So we make it easy. As a farmer, you get to decide what do you want to grow. Out of our numerous varieties, we have 6, by the way. You choose which one you want. Is it early maturity, medium maturity, or late maturity? And then in addition to that, we also provide them with training. It's very important to provide people with technical guidance. It's not enough to just give them inputs, because if you give them inputs, they do not know what to do with them, you see? And then on top of that, you have poor yields despite giving them inputs. So you have to actually marry the inputs with technical training. Teach them the do's and the don'ts. Many people, you find that when you ask them sweet potato, they are demotivated because they say they are harvesting rotten sweet potato. There's a solution to that. You have to know how to look out for that, how to prevent that, by actually learning the technical ropes of how sweet potato is done. Now, that's not all. We also have invested our research and development in producing additional inputs like fodder fertilizer, tailor-made for sweet potato. If you look at crops like tomato, onion, name it, they each have a tailor-made fertilizer which enhances them and makes sure they have their optimal yield. But sweet potato is overlooked. As a business, we are one of the people who have actually researched and looked at what it needs on a physiological level in order to produce high yields. Let's not forget also the most important aspect, sales and marketing. This is where we now come in with market linkage opportunities. We're in a growing world where demand for food products is ever increasing, especially food products that are seasonal like sweet potato. It's only now that people are learning that it is actually a perennial crop which grows all year round. So we're able to actually introduce our farmers to these people who are buying. They could be exporters, they could be retailers, they could be supermarkets, they could be Spar, Pick and Pay, name it. The important thing is to get the commodity to the end user, the consumer on the street, on the household level. So definitely, this is one thing that is very interesting. Imagine farmers growing a crop and having the full confidence of knowing how much they're going to earn for it and when they'll earn that money. With regards to our trainings, we principally, when we began, we used to, as you know, we used to depend solely on communal meetings. But that was pre-COVID. So when COVID-19 hit us, we kind of had to, improvise. So we had to look for other innovative ways. And one of those ways that we settled for was for actually using online interactive platforms. Internet penetration is quite high now, even in rural areas, even in farming blocks. Many people have access to a smartphone, which will principally have applications like WhatsApp for video calls, Zoom for conferencing and meetings. So we actually began to work in that line. And by the way, I forgot to mention, one of the criteria for being our member is you must have a smartphone, because we also provide ongoing consultancy. So if you're in your field and you notice there's something that you're not sure of, who do you call? The experts. You just photograph, send via WhatsApp. We'll analyze, interpret, and give you possible results. Yes, so now back to the training. So these trainings are held online. This means we're able to reach a diverse group of people at the same time at the lowest possible cost. And they are very convenient because we spread them out over a 6-week period. So we have cohorts. So we typically split them up in about 8 sessions. Because we don't want to overload these trainees with too much technical information at a go. So it is held every Tuesday and Thursday, weekly. These sessions start from, how you can identify the cultivars to plant, which area you're in, because, Zambia has got different ecological zones, and some sweet potatoes do well in other areas more than in other areas. We touch land preparation all the way up to post-harvesting and value addition opportunities and entrepreneurial opportunities for sweet potato farmers. It's been a road of ups and downs in getting this project started and going. So principally, some of the challenges we've faced in managing an outgrower project is, most of these farmers in rural areas, they typically expect such initiatives to be on a donation basis. They expect them to be given to them for free, either by an NGO or by a department of government. So when a private business tries to engage in rural farmers in this fashion, we are usually met with resistance because, we sell them these inputs. We don't just give them these inputs for free. So the resistance comes from the mindset of, why are we outgrowers if we have to pay for these inputs? But we, of course, further go on to convince these farmers on the benefits of being part of our initiatives. Of course, another challenge is access to varieties. There are over 80 types of sweet potato, and in Zambia, we primarily know about 2 or 3. We need more people to have access to more sweet potato varieties. And unfortunately, even our government research stations, they are not so much invested in sweet potato research and cultivation. So this means most of these high profitable varieties are not readily available on the market. Of course, another challenge is, it's very challenging to get to formalize farmers because, when you are dealing with outgrowers, there's always the issue of payment. And in most cases, we typically just provide market linkages. We are not yet in a position to be a sole off taker whereby we are buying from these. We are in the process of course, getting some of our equipment. But until that is done, we have to rely on linking these people to potential buyers. Now, you may understand that most of these buyers are just like us. They are limited by shares, they are businesses. And some of them, their payment policies differ. Some will pay on receiving, on delivery, some will pay after a period. So some of the challenges we face, of course, is regarding the outgrowers, because farmers typically, their tendency is once they supply, they must be paid. So we are obviously working around most of these challenges by having a very transparent system in place that makes farmers to feel comfortable and confident by working with us. We disclose all the buying prices, we disclose all the invoices, we disclose all the contact details. Principally, we just make sure farmers have full access, full disclosure to who the client is, how much was involved in transporting the product, and any other necessary information that will make them feel very comfortable to go on with us. If I were to be frank, doing an outgrower project is one of the most challenging forms of agriculture that I have of course witnessed. This is because you are working with resources that are principally not under your 100% control. So there's a huge risk element as opposed to working on your farm or on your group of farms. However, despite the challenge, it is also very, very fulfilling and profitable. And I always love to measure the profit in 2 ways. There's always the financial profit, and then there's always the social impact profit. Because by working with different groups, vulnerable groups, we are actually able to create traceable and tangible income opportunities to these people. And really, that puts us in a position to actually celebrate being able to provide food, clothing, medication, and even education to people that otherwise are uneducated and, of course, are just vulnerable as compared to other members of society. Profit-wise, it is a business that is slow paying, I have to admit. An outgrower project is not an overnight cash spinner, but with patience, resilience, and of course strategy, it is very profitable in the long run. What's important, if you think of having an outgrower, first of all, have standards. Don't compromise. If for example, your criteria is 1 lima as a minimum, like we are doing, stick to that. Don't accept anything less than that, because that means you're compromising on the rules. And once you start to bend the rules, then eventually the rules will bend you as well. So you have to make sure that you don't compromise on your standards. It may not fit everybody, but target those that it fits, and the ship will sail through the waters carefully. Okay. So currently we are, we were operating informally because we were in the viability stage of our business. Every business that is successful, to my knowledge, it is not a business that you just have a concept today and then tomorrow you are knocking on Pakra's doors, etc. You typically prove or try to test the concept of success. And through the pilot project, through the experimental outreach programs, we did get a lot of traction and a lot of numbers. So this obviously indicated on the viability side to say this business is sustainable and viable and potential to grow and scale is there. And that's how we went to make the step of formalizing the business by registering it with the relevant authorities. Now, we are looking at ourselves, I think 5 years from now. We see ourselves achieving a position of being investor ready. So this means that as we're operating, we have embarked on a huge record keeping and record analyzing internal project. This is to help us track how many people we're impacting, to help us track how much sweet potato we're harvesting in terms of tons from these outgrowers and from other independent farmers. This is also helping us to keep tabs on how much money is being made from sweet potato. In addition to that, we are also looking at having a system where I think 3 years from now, we will be able to confidently invite an auditor to come and audit our books so that we can obviously now get into the round of funding. I think 5 years from now, we are looking at maybe securing around maybe 3.5 to 5 million US dollars in terms of development funding, perhaps grant funding, or even just core financing, depending on the scale that we'll be able to reach when it comes to that point of investor readiness. Otherwise, the sector that we are in is a sector that is very valuable. There are key players like the Food Agricultural Organization, like the International Potato Center. They are just basically a whole group of even Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation is also actively participating in this, and this is bordering on food security in the face of climate change. So definitely we're in the right track. We just have to prepare ourselves to ensure that our internal structures are set, our management accounting is set, and I think the millions will be coming in 5 to 10 years from now. We just have to be patient.